is a main artery for connectivity in Guyana, says PM. No oil law model contracts to be finalized by next month. Minibus driver stabbed to death by woman at Linden bus park. CCJ denies ex-GDF soldiers leave to appeal murder convictions. And opposition MP charged released on bail for allegedly exposing genitals. Now for the news in detail. President Dr. Irfan Ali on Friday met with Chinese President Xi Jinping, during which the two leaders recommitted to sharing opportunities, meeting challenges, seeking cooperation, and promoting development together. Davina Samaru has our lead story this evening.
China and Guyana on Friday vowed to build a closer community with a shared future as Chinese President Xi Jinping met with Guyanese President Dr. Irfan Ali in Chengdu, the capital city of southwest China's Sichuan province. Ali arrived in Chengdu on Thursday to attend the opening ceremony of the 31st summer edition of the FISU World University Games and visit China. During the meeting, President Xi hailed bilateral enduring friendship, stressing that China and Guyana should be good friends who trust each other and rely on each other. He called on the two sides to share opportunities, tackle challenges, seek cooperation, and promote development together so as to build a closer China-Guyana community with a shared future. As two developing countries, the Chinese president said China and Guyana should work in the fundamental and long-term interests of the two peoples, strengthen communication and cooperation, and firmly support each other to achieve the steady and sustained development of the bilateral ties. He added that the Chinese side is willing to promote the in-depth docking of the Belt and Road Initiative with Guyana's Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030 and welcomes Guyana's participation in the China International Import Expo. Stressing that China encourages Chinese companies to invest in Guyana, the Chinese president said the two sides should expand mutually beneficial cooperation in the fields of energy, mining, finance, agriculture and fisheries, and infrastructure construction, and cultivate new growth areas such as new energy and green development. The Chinese president expressed hope that the Guyanese side will continue to play an active role in the development of relations between China and the Caribbean countries.
去年中国隆重庆祝了建交50周年，站在中国关系发展的新起点上，我们两国要做彼此信赖、相互倚重的好朋友，共享机遇，共赢挑战。 共谋合作，共促发展，推动构建更加紧密的中规命运共同体。
President Ali, for his part, stressed that relations between Guyana and China have maintained sound development with strong political mutual trust. The Guyanese side firmly adheres to the One China principle, Ali noted, adding that his country regards China as a highly reliable partner and welcomes Chinese enterprises to invest in Guyana. President Ali further said that China has played an important role in the economic and social development of Guyana and the Caribbean region, not only sharing Chinese experience, but also providing valuable assistance to Guyana and regional countries in the development of infrastructure, connectivity, medicine, and health.
China has played an enormous role in the development of our region and in the development of Guyana.
We're joined by Davina Samaru, who reports that the government is working to finalize the no oil law and the model production sharing agreements next month, ahead of the final extension of the oil blocks' auction, which ends in September.
The oil block auction was launched in December 2022 with an April 2023 deadline. However, it was later extended to July. Now the government has extended to September 12th for companies to submit bids. Vice President Dr. Barjagdeo, during a press conference on Thursday, assured that this is the final extension as government plans to finalize the new model production sharing agreement and enact the new petroleum activities bill next month. In fact, the government plans to table the bill at the next sitting of the National Assembly on August 3rd.
We anticipate that the legislation will be passed before the recess, so we'd have a finalized PSA and also the new petroleum activities law, which were the two preconditions that we set ourselves before we conclude the bid round. So both would be ready, and that will give enough time to the potential bidders.
Jagdeo explained that despite the delay, interest in the auction appears to still be growing, with at least 2 potential investors expressing such. 14 oil blocks are up for auction, with companies required to pay a US $20,000 fee to access the data room for the auction. The sizes of the 14 oil blocks in auction range from 1,000 to 3,000 square kilometers. Under the new fiscal terms in the draft PSA, Guyana stands to benefit from as high as US $20 million signature bonuses for the deep water blocks and US $10 million for the shallow water blocks. Additionally, all future PSAs would include the retention of 50-50 profit share and after-cost recovery, the increase of the royalty from a mere 2% to a fixed rate of 10%, the imposition of a 10% corporate tax, and the lowering of the cost recovery ceiling to 65% from 75%. Earlier this year, U.S. oil giant ExxonMobil had said it was awaiting the final terms of the new PSA before it made a decision on bidding for the oil blocks offshore Guyana that are up for auction. Meanwhile, in the new oil bill, Jagdeo had revealed that stiff penalties and taxation are among the concerns raised by industry players in their feedback on the draft law. Reporting for the Evening News, Davina Samaru.
The critical works undertaken on the Demerara Harbor Bridge this week have mended several areas which were in need of urgent repair, and the spanking new Span 9 has been installed. In this Rubusina report, you will hear that Prime Minister Mark Phillips underscored the importance of the Demerara Harbor Bridge.
Acting President Mark Phillips was accompanied by Public Works Minister Juan Edgil and other officials on Thursday evening as the Demerara Harbor Bridge reopened to vehicular traffic 6 hours before the stipulated deadline. Phillips underscored the importance of the structure and regarded it as a main artery of connection for several regions.
It's not only connecting people who live in Region 3, as you heard earlier, people in Region 7. You know, they move to Corica, and then they move through Region 3, and they cross the bridge to get into town to do their business. People in Region 2, similarly, you know, will move all the way and use this bridge. So this is the main artery, connecting Region 2, Region 7, Region 3, and I will extend it forward and say Region 1 too. Because, you know, Region 1 people do all kind of movements in a complex manner, and they end up right here to cross this bridge to get into Georgetown. So this is an important project.
According to Minister Edgil, the works were intended to last 8 days, but owing to Cabinet's direction, they were asked to review the work program and condense these repair works. It was made possible through collaborative efforts with the Maritime Administration, Coast Guard, the Ghana Police Force, and other key agencies.
To move thousands of people across this river every day for the last couple of days without a boat accident, without an injury, nobody fall overboard, nobody ankle sprain, orderly. It didn't just happen by accident. It was planning. It took partnership, and it took the support and the cooperation of a whole lot of people. And I would like to say that as the minister responsible, I deeply appreciate the work that every member of the team and all the stakeholders played, and the role they played in us getting this done.
Meanwhile, General Manager of the Demerara Harbor Bridge Corporation, Wayne Watson, outlined that several fractures were repaired along with the replacement of the $1.2 billion Span 9, resulting in a safer structure.
We managed to replace several critical fractured structures
components of the bridge. So literally, I can safely report that we have a bridge that is structurally safe and sound.
Construction has started on the landmark new Demerara River Bridge that will link the east bank of Demerara to the west bank of Demerara and is slated for completion by December 2024. Rupa Sinarain, The Evening News.
With the Group of 20 G20 major economies having met in India and failed to reach a consensus on critical climate matters, Vice President Dr. Jagdeo has said he is not too optimistic about the outcome of the upcoming COP28, as he maintained his position that fossil fuel of the future should come from developing countries like Guyana. Here are the details.
The G20 bloc of wealthy economies, having met several days ago, failed to reach a consensus on phasing down fossil fuels after objections by some producer nations. They also failed to reach a consensus on mobilizing US $100 billion per year for climate action in developing economies from 2020 to 2025. Addressing a press conference on Thursday, Vice President Dr. Jagdeo said he fears that the same issues that characterized the G20 meeting would take place at COP28, to be held in the United Arab Emirates from November 30th to December 12th.
Where you have a confrontation between those who believe that you don't need to phase down fossil fuel production at this stage because there is a global demand for fossil fuel and it's growing, and those who believe that you have to not just phase it down, but phase it out. If that continues and that debate is taken to the next COP in that manner, it will fail. I'm not very optimistic, but we're going there to try to push, hopefully, to get it along, to ensure that you have a bigger surge outside of shutting down versus continuation, that there's a bigger surge for solution.
The Ghana government has long positioned that fossil fuel would still be needed in the future, and according to VP Jagdeo, this should come from developing countries.
The fossil fuel of the future should come from countries that need the production to enhance not just the welfare of their people, but also to fund their adaptation needs. When the Secretary General of the United Nations says no new investment in fossil fuel, he is effectively saying preserve not just the entire future of all fossil fuel production for the existing countries, Norway, Russia, the United States, Saudi Arabia, but also preserve future growth of fossil fuel output for those countries. So nothing for you in the developing world. We find that essentially unjust and unfair to the many developing countries in Africa, here in this region, many other parts of the world, who are trying to take their people out of poverty.
In fact, he reasoned that Guyana, even at maximum peak oil production, will still be a carbon-negative country. As such, he said it is unreasonable to expect Guyana to limit its production when the developed world is refusing to cut theirs and is in fact increasing their output of fossil fuel when they have used up most of their carbon allowance. Meanwhile, on the issue of funding, Jagdeo lamented that the developed world is not fulfilling its basic promise to set aside US $100 billion per year for climate action. In fact, he said he had raised the issue with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken during his recent visit to Guyana.
They have all of these fancy accounting now to show that they're doing almost 75% of it, $75 billion. But when you check it really, a lot of it, the majority of it is loans to countries that cannot afford, because they're fiscally stressed, cannot afford to take more loans. I raised this in a discussion with Secretary of State Blinken at the State House. I said it's not just the funding, but addressing the institutions that intermediate the funds, because a lot of them are not fit for purpose, and the slope between the availability of funds and their delivery is.
Meanwhile, Jagdeo has urged the local critics, who continue to argue that Guyana is not doing enough in its fight against climate change, to take a look at the situation in the global context.
Whilst everyone here, or some people here, believe that we're not doing enough to abate this potential global disaster, the countries that matter, that generate most of the emissions, they're not taking the tough decision. And without them taking the tough decision, because of the sheer volume of emission they have, there will be no net zero target.
Reporting for the Evening News, Davina Samaru.
Coming up, minibus driver stabbed to death by tomboy at Linden Park, and opposition MP charged released on bail for allegedly exposing genitals. Do stay with us. More news ahead.
If they actually need the roads that are being built.
If you want real energy, if you got and two good source of iron for me and for you, make you feel like say you have energy for two. When you make a man flex with you and your crew work late, I left the gym after two. Vigatan tanika the remedy for some man for sue. So send on if you got and two Vigatan. From your new energy you are defend. Just send on if you got and then strong up your body, drink and come again. Vigatan 2 are the remedy, my friend.
Vigatan 2, good source of vitamin and iron for you.
Knock off. The Oreos belong to us.
No, they belong to whoever finds them first.
Get your Oreo Transformers Limited Edition and awaken the beast.
Turbo energy drink rolling out the Turbo Hot Summer Wheels promotion. Win a brand new 2023 Honda HR-V. Plus over $3 million in weekly cash and prizes. Just grab any bottle of Turbo energy drink, Buster or Classic, and locate the 8-digit code on the bottle. Then visit Turbo IG and Facebook at Turbo_Caribbean. For more details, conditions apply.
Looking to bring your dream home to reality? Or simply taking on a home improvement project? Then National Hardware Limited is where you should start. Let us put that touch to your home. Choose from over 1,000 Berger Paint original hues for any surface. We are known for our trusted brands such as Westinghouse, Philips, Satco, Rubbermaid, Pyrex, Gibson Home, and so much more. National Hardware Limited, your do-it-best store. Located in downtown Georgetown and industrial site Rhymeville.
Premier insurance coverage for less. Stay safe. Premier insurance coverage for less. Stay safe.
Look out! The Oreos belong to us. No, they belong to whoever finds them first.
Get your Oreo Transformers Limited Edition and awaken the beast.
Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. The Caribbean Court of Justice on Thursday denied special leave applications made by two former Guyana Defense Force Coast Guard ranks to appeal their convictions and sentences. They were found guilty in 2013 of murdering and robbing a civilian.
Coast Guard rank Sherwin Hart, Dion Greenidge, and Devin Gordon were sentenced to death in 2013. They were found guilty of throwing overboard gold miner Dweef Kant Ramdas of Vartica Region 7 after robbing him of $17 million. In 2022, the original death sentences were vacated and replaced by life sentences, with tariffs requiring the men to serve 18 years in prison before being eligible for parole. Hart and Greenidge had both sought leave to appeal the sentence imposed on them by the Court of Appeal and to challenge the constitutionality of the death penalty. Meanwhile, Greenidge had also sought permission to appeal his conviction altogether. He claimed that the evidence against him consisted solely of the contents of his caution statement, which did not disclose any prior plan to murder or participate in the murder of Ramdas. A CCJ judgment authored by Justice Winston Anderson and delivered by Justice Adrian Saunders dismissed these applications.
This court held firstly that the second applicant did not establish any realistic possibility that a potentially serious miscarriage of justice may have occurred by virtue of his conviction for murder. There was ample evidence in the caution statement and the circumstantial evidence on which a jury, properly directed, would have reached the conclusion that he was party to the joint enterprise to rob and murder the deceased. Secondly, in relation to the constitutionality of the death penalty, the court found that the applicants faced no threat of execution, and so the arguments raised on this issue were entirely academic in nature. The court reaffirmed this decision in the Yakshi Conservation Trust against Sabido, that it would only hear academic appeals in specified exceptional circumstances. The current application did not fall under those exceptional circumstances.
Hart and Greenidge also took issue with some of the reasoning of the Court of Appeal regarding the death penalty being a saved law from the colonial era. The three EX-GDF officers had been convicted under the unamended Section 100 of the Criminal Law Offences Act, CLOA. The CCJ reminded that it had indicated clear views on the issue of the Savings Clause, and naturally, if there is any variance between those views and the reasoning of the Court of Appeal, the views of the CCJ must prevail. Hart and Greenidge also contended that the Court of Appeal did not adhere to the proper sentencing methodology in vacating the death penalty and imposing life sentences with tariffs.
In the present case, the offenders were members of the Guyana Defense Force who had robbed and murdered an innocent citizen. There was no ground for regarding the sentence imposed as excessive or so manifestly outside the mainstream of sentences.
Additionally, Justice Saunders pointed out that the Court of Appeal had imposed the minimum sentence mandated under the CLOA, and therefore the applicants had no basis for complaint. On these bases, the application for special leave was dismissed, with no orders as to costs. Pooja Rambrand for the Evening News.
Opposition Member of Parliament David Patterson was released on $70,000 bail on Friday after the police charged him with exposing his genitals to a man and using obscene language. Patterson of the Alliance for Change appeared before Senior Magistrate Leron Daly at the Georgetown Magistrates Courts and denied the charges. It is alleged that on July 16 at Lot 87 C4 Street, Section A, Campbellville, Georgetown, Patterson exposed his genitals to Ramroop Odit. This is an offense under the Sexual Offenses Act. It is further alleged that on the same date and location, he used obscene language to Odit, causing a breach of the peace, and also provoked him to cause him distress. The court prosecutor did not oppose bail for Patterson. In the end, he was granted $50,000 on the first charge and $20,000 bail on the other two charges. The matter have been postponed until September 11. A Linden bus driver was on Thursday evening stabbed to death in the vicinity of the Linden minibus park on Water and Hatfield Street, Georgetown, by a female whom the man's family said is a tomboy. Lawanda McAllister has the details in this report.
That is 37-year-old Zeron Nurenkirk, known as Orlando, a father of 5 and of the West Rheinveld housing scheme, Georgetown. An eyewitness told detectives that he was sitting on the Parliament building fence and was chatting with a now-dead man. However, they were joined by the suspect, and during the conversation, the victim pinched her on her left hand, but she knocked away his hand and pulled out a pointed brown-handled knife from her waist. The eyewitness related that upon seeing the weapon, the victim told the woman that she cannot use it on him. The suspect, he added, started to walk away when Nurenkirk hugged and lifted her from behind in a joking manner. Soon after, the victim made a sound and was heard asking the woman, and I quote, "Is what you done to me, girl?" End quote. At that time, the injured man pulled down his pants and showed the eyewitness a wound to his right side groin area, which was bleeding. After committing the act, the suspect fled the scene with a knife in her hand. Meanwhile, when the evening news visited the dead man's home on Friday, his cousin-in-law said how they learned about the incident.
Last night, I was at the hospital already. I took my cousin there, and I was outside standing, and I saw his bus coming in. I hear a blowing going peep, 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 peep. So I was like, in my mind, it's what he doing here? And afterward, they caught me off track. They called me inside and said they have to get the baby clinics booked. So I went inside. So I said, Mommy, they get an emergency just coming, and I see Orlando bus. I wonder what we doing here. So by the time we look back, it was he coming on the stretcher because I didn't get to see when he came out of the bus. So I said, Orlando, and we started to, scream. Then is when they realized that he was related to us. So they was asking that if he was coming at the hospital same time to see us. We said no. He usually works the Linden road. And his wife, she didn't know anything. So I called her. I said, your husband just come in with a stab wound. They asked me what my team. I explained. I tell them that he's my in-law, and they asked me to start signing some papers because he had to do immediate surgery. Went up to theater, and they explained the procedure. They explained where he got the stab wound. It was at his groin, and it burst his artery. And like half an hour after, to an hour after, they came out and then said,
She further stated that the suspect and the now dead man were friends, and it is quite unfortunate how things ended.
She probably was in a bad mood last night, according to persons, that she probably was in a bad mood, and he just picked, making joke and just lift shop, and then she just stopped. Like, I just zoned out because this thing happened so fast. Like, I didn't know how to react at them, but then, knowing that it's somebody close, knowing that he's a jovial person, a person that makes joke, up to just the kids were saying, who we can get to play Pago with, or who we can get to live, He's a very loving, fun person to be around.
The man's body is at the GPHC mortuary awaiting postmortem. Efforts are being made to locate the suspect as investigations continue. Reporting for the evening news, I am Lawanda McAllister.
2 motorcyclists are now nursing injuries at the Georgetown Public Hospital following an accident along Norton Street, Georgetown. Here are the details.
The motorcyclists are now battling for their lives after the high-speed collision with a motor car. The accident occurred at about 13:45 and left several persons who witnessed the incident in shock. According to eyewitness accounts, the 2 motorcyclists were traveling eastbound on Norton Street when a motor car bearing license plate number PAC 6269 was approaching from the south at an alarming rate of speed. Tragically, the motor car collided with the two motorcyclists, forcefully knocking them off of their bikes and causing severe injuries. The impact of the collision was so severe that the motorcyclists were thrown into the air and then dragged some 20 feet from the impact point. Passers-by rushed to their aid and immediately contacted the police and emergency medical technicians for assistance. The EMT team arrived promptly on the scene and quickly assessed the condition of the injured riders. Without delay, both men were transported to the Georgetown Public Hospital. The extent of their injuries has been described as severe, and medical professionals are working tirelessly to stabilize them. So far, the two motorcyclists have not been identified. Lawanda McAllister for the Evening News.
In this report, you will hear the Guyanese songstress Diana Chapman, who has won both the junior and senior Calypso titles, has embarked on a new musical path as she teams up with an internationally recognized American music manager. Here are the details.
After nearly a decade of some stir in the music industry, Lindener Diana Chapman is now setting her eyes on international recognition and is eager to share her music and unique artistry with the world. To aid in this ambitious endeavor, she has joined forces with renowned American music manager Maya Richardson, who is not only a successful entrepreneur but also a motivational speaker, mentor, executive producer, and singer-songwriter.
I am taking steps to venture out there into the world internationally with music. I actually have a manager overseas in Las Vegas, and she's working on some stuff for me also. Next year, I have a project that I'm going to be heading across there to be part of, and I'm super excited about that. Can't wait for people to see what that project is and what it will be like, but I know it's going to be amazing. So getting out there is definitely going to be happening.
Currently, Chapman is focused on finding her own unique musical genre and will be using this time to experiment and discover her artistic direction. Emphasizing her desire to create a distinct musical identity rather than following trends, she exudes a positive and fresh energy that is sure to captivate her audience. Although she has already achieved significant success in her hometown of Linden, Chapman's hunger for more opportunities and international acclaim is what fuels her collaboration with Maya Richardson. While juggling multiple roles can be challenging, she has developed routines that ensures each aspect of her life receives the attention it deserves. Her journey hasn't been one without struggles, but she remains committed to her path of self-actualization, even while being a devoted mother of our 11-year-old son.
How do we come together, like I would have mentioned, if nobody trusts anybody? How do we come together? I think a lot of persons in the industry would have had bad experiences, and because of the bad experience that they would have had, they keep themselves to themselves, you know, and I don't know how we can get that unity without trust. It's like in a normal relationship. What is a relationship without trust, right? So we have to learn to trust each other, and that's the only way for us to come together and make things better.
As Diana Chapman continues to push the boundaries of her artistry, she remains dedicated to the pursuit of her dreams, and with Maya Richardson's mentorship, the world can expect an exciting and innovative musical journey from this exceptional talent.
And now for a look at the bridge reports.
The Demerara Harbor Bridge will be closed from 1:30 on Saturday, July 29, 2023, for a period of 1.5 hours. Meanwhile, the Berbice River Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Saturday, July 29, 2023 at 13:25 for a period of 1.5 hours.
West Indies aiming to bounce back against India tomorrow, and CPL 2023, Seoul and Williams in for St. Lucia Kings. Details of these stories and more in the Sportcast, sponsored by MacCorp, coming up on the other side of the break.
Did you know that when you leave your property unoccupied and unmanaged, it deteriorates much faster than you can imagine? Then before you know it, much of your hard-earned investment is wasted. At Hand in Hand Trust Corporation, property management is our business. Whether you travel for long periods, live overseas, or have several properties that require managing, let us at Hand in Hand Trust Corporation take care of this for you. Your property is safe with us. Hand in Hand Trust Corporation Incorporated, a member of the Hand in Hand Group of Companies.
Turbo Energy Drink rolling out the Turbo Hot Summer Wheels promotion. Win a brand new 2023 Honda HR-V. Plus over $3 million in weekly cash and prizes. Just grab any bottle of Turbo Energy Drink, Buster or Classic, and locate the 8-digit code on the bottle. Then visit Turbo IG and Facebook at Turbo_Caribbean. For more details, conditions apply.
Contractors, let the quality of your road constructions speak for themselves by investing in a walk-behind vibratory roller from Sylvies. Apart from improving productivity, our roller provides better compaction for soil and asphalt. Designed with the ability to turn, this machine also offers great flexibility for precise work near walls and sidewalks. Order it now before it's gone at sylviesonline.com or at our 31 High and Hatfield Street store.
Come visit us on Waterloo Street, John Lewis style.
Turbo Energy Drink rolling out the Turbo Hot Summer Wheels promotion. Win a brand new 2023 Honda HR-V. Plus over $3 million in weekly cash and prizes. Just grab any bottle of Turbo Energy Drink, Buster or Classic, and locate the 8-digit code on the bottle. Then visit Turbo IG and Facebook at Turbo_Caribbean. For more details, conditions apply.
Play virtual blackjack for an exclusive gaming experience. Do you have what it takes to beat the dealer? Visit www.superbet.gy and check out all the different bet types. Must be 18 years and older. Terms and conditions apply. Play responsibly. Superbet, your best bet.
Look out! The Oreos belong to us. No, they belong to whoever finds them first.
Get your Oreo Transformers Limited Edition and awaken the beast.